Hello, welcome back to Emperor's Path. My name is SBJ and we have finally finished the fiddle yard. Welcome back. So we've been in the house month and a half. Let's go a month and a half. And I've finally managed to finish the fiddle yard, which my aim was to have it done by the end of September so that I could at least start getting some trains running. And the fact that I've managed to do that is great. This does include all of the power to the tracks, and most importantly, and the most fiddly part, was the control panel and making sure that all of the wiring was wired up. So what we're going to do today, I'm going to go through how it's set up on the board so you can have a look at it. I'm also going to show you most of the little bits and bobs that I've used in the last few weeks and how I've built my control panel. I'm not going to show you inside the control panel because all of the wires are sort of tucked in there and it's a mess, let's be really honest. I have made a little testing rig of how the switching goes and how the wiring's all laid out, so I can show you all of that. I can show you all of the little bits that I thought were quite important to this, and I'm also going to show you how I've managed to wire it up so that you can throw one point down here and it's opposite down the other end will throw at the same time. We've got all that started. I'm going to show you what the fiddle yard looks like. I'm going to show you the control panel and then we'll have a look at how it's all set up. Speak to you in a sec. Okay, so let's show you the fiddle yard quickly before we talk more about all the bits that are going on. So you've got fourth radius curve there and a third radius curve there, and they go off and meet each other and they'll go off onto the scenic section once that's built. You've got 3 Dsub units on there, which I'll talk a little bit more in detail about how they're all wired up and why they're being used. Then you've got all of the fiddle yard lines, and let's scroll down and have a look down the other end. So if this is the first video you're watching, this is a 17-foot fiddle yard, which is more than I ever thought I'd ever be able to build. So I'm very excited about that. You can see there's the first train to get loaded up, sat there waiting to go. Now that train is going to go on that back line there. That's why it's up there first. At the moment, my control panel for my NC power cab is up that end. Here's the big problem. My control panel's up there, but my actual points wiring system is down here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put another socket in because I have 2 NCE power cabs, so I'm able to control from either end. So we'll be able to do that in a bit. So yeah, that's the fiddle yard as it stands at the moment, all wired up, points and bits like that. So before we go into detail about all the various wiring bits and bits that you can see down there, I'm going to show you the control panel. Now, I'm not sure how well the camera is going to pick it up because the lights in real life are bright. So let's go and have a look. Okay, so this is the fiddle yard control box. So this basically allows me to switch all of the points on the layout. In the center, we'll start here. So you've got points numbered 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. These effectively control both ends of the points. They control this point here and this point here. They operate the opposite point, so it allows the controller to effectively make sure that when they switch one point, the whole siding is open and they don't accidentally forget and leave a closed point. Really, really handy. This is the part that I was unsure if I was going to be able to do simply because of the wiring, but I did manage to make it work and I'm very happy about that. So you can switch to fiddle yard and you'll see that the lights change, except for that one seems to have gone. I need to fix that. Brilliant. There you go. So those 2 bulbs is probably a loose wire going to that one, but let's show you one actually working. There you go. And that will change both the points at both ends, and it changes the light so I know which one's which, and it lights up the correct line. Now, one important thing about the control panel is it doesn't go like this on real life. So I have to treat number 5 as being on the opposite side of the 3-way point. That's my faux pas, and I will get it fixed eventually. It took a long time to build the control panel fascia only to get it wrong, so that's something I'm going to fix later down the line, and I'll probably get someone like Bunter's Yard to professionally print me one and make it look very pretty. So that'll be a later addition, but everything works. So the points and the controller are all powered by an old Hornby controller using the accessory power that comes on the old box, which looks like this. and that goes into the switches and the points. Inside this box are Dsub link terminals, which, if you don't know what they look like, they're effectively computer ports, what you'd have for a printer or something like that. And it's basically how a lot of my wiring gets from A to B in a tidy fashion. So because of the amount of points that the layout uses, it requires 2 Dsub units to go out of the box and 2 Dsub units to be on the table. So that's why there's 2 massive cables coming out of the back there. But it means that all of the power and all of the control parts for those particular point motors are all sat there ready to go, and coming out of the box is a really tidy wiring system. On these particular cables, I went for the 5-meter versions. The reason for that is because I don't know where the control box is going to go until the layout is fully set up. I don't know where I want to place it. Just behind me to the right is a really good place because it's right next to my desk, so I can control the points from there. But the idea is that I want somebody to be able to control this even if they're not sat at my desk, so we'll see. Now that we've looked at that, let's go and have a look at how it's all wired up on the actual table. This is the main bus. This comes out of the controller and goes into here, and I've put the numbers on the sides here for all of the points, including the power. So you'll see there's a black cable coming in here. That is the central power that goes into the center console, or the central screw link terminal on the points motors, so that provides constant power. And then you have a left and a right, as you can see here, which controls which way the point throws. Now, initially, I was going to be using different coloured wire for this. However, I decided I'm going to stick with the same colour, because if I get the polarity the wrong way around, I can just switch the wires over. And that was quite nice for me. These are all single strand pieces of wire. They're really, really handy because you strip them, you don't have to twist the wire or anything like that. It was a mistake that I bought them. I thought they were just normal bits of wire with multiple strands that you twist and solder, but they're not. But actually it worked out really good in this situation. So this is for the main. This is what I call the overflow for the 2 points that I didn't have enough power to. But it does mean if I want to add anything additionally onto here, I have space to do it in the future. I could have gone for a smaller screw link terminal, but I thought, you know what, it's the same price for one of the bigger ones. So let's go with that, and then that way I can add additional things that will work on the control panel as well further down the line. All of these points, the 3-way points, operate independently to everything else on the layout. That's because to throw the 3-way point, you have to have it in a certain position. You can't throw one of them in a certain position because it will bend the switching pieces, and I don't want that. So they are all controlled individually. Now, this number 10 that you can see here and the number 5 that you can see here, when you throw this point, it throws the point that's at the opposite end of the fiddle yard, so they both throw it at the same time, which is really handy. Now, in order to do that, each of these yellow lines that are going in here come out of here, so let's find number 10's on the opposite side here. So those yellow wires come out, and then underneath here there are 3-way Wago blocks. And what happens is you have one yellow wire going into there, one yellow wire coming out and going into this point motor, and then another yellow wire coming out and going into this terminal here. You can see these are all numbered up with particular numbers. Now you do that with every single yellow line that's coming out of here to go into here. What this then does is this cable goes all the way to the other end where it's got the opposite version of this. And those cables come out and go to their respective point motors. So when I was setting this up, I made sure that this end worked first and the points through the way that I wanted them to match the control panel. It was something as simple as the lights may say that it's the point is throwing left, but on here, if you got these 2 wires the wrong way around, it will throw right instead. So getting it right this end first was the best way to sort that out. So that was then done. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 points that have to be mirrored, plus the control for the 3-way points at the other ends. So there's another 4 points down there as well. Yeah, that was my main thinking for that. I'll go and show you how that looks in a second. But these Dsub screw link terminal pieces have been amazing for me in terms of sorting out all of this process and keeping it as tidy as possible. Right, let's go and have a look at the other end. So up this end, it's a much simpler version of it. Same thing, comes up to this D port here, and then all of the point motors are labelled. I've got little stickers on there so I know which one's which. The joy of doing it in this screw link terminal fashion is that if there's one that's the wrong way round, you simply pull it out, put it in the right one and put the other one back in the new piece, and it's really simple to fault find on this. Surprisingly, I'd say most of the point motors that I put in here, by pure chance, they were set to the right way so that they were throwing it the same as the opposite point motor rather than throwing the wrong way, meaning that the siding isn't open at both ends. So yeah, really, really handy. These terminal blocks, these have been used by everyone all over the show. They're really good for transporting power. So you can see there's a black metal strip here, which effectively puts power to all of these conductors down here. Now you can chop these in half and have a half black, half red if you're putting double power, or if you're putting terminal block power for your bus wire or things like that. I've used them to transport the power for all of these point motors down here. So once again, there's a black wire that comes out of here, and that's coming right from the other end. Whilst it's not important to this particular situation, there's my NC power cab fascia. This is a temporary place for it, but it's a place where I knew I could put it and be able to run trains. So quickly talking about the products that have been used, these are, you get these in schools and other various bits. I got these off Amazon for £2 for a massive pack. Basically, these are little circular stickers that I was able to write the numbers of each corresponding point motor or power or anything like that on there and stick it onto the Dsub unit so I knew which piece was which piece. Really, really handy for keeping track of which bits are which. Resistors I used were these 1K resistors. They are brown, black, red, gold as their colouring system on there. I just bought these off Amazon for a massive pack of them. You'll see where the resistors were used in a second. Blue 3mm LEDs. These are so bright. I'm going to have to put some sort of clear paint over the top of them to try and dull it down because my, they are bright. These are three-way Wago connectors. These probably aren't official Wago ones. These are ones that I bought in B&Q. Effectively, they've got a metal bar in there that when you put your wire in each of those holes, it pushes through and snaps into the wire a bit like a clamp, and it allows all three wires that are in there to be connected without having to solder them. Really, really handy, especially for doing the points that needed to be mirrored. Really, really good. Then this is the most important part. Now you could do the point motors without any LEDs and you'd be absolutely fine. What's handy about these double pole, double throw toggle switches is that you can effectively add an LED circuit on there as well. So the LED will change as the point motor changes. So they're like this big. They're really easy to melt, as I've found. So I bought more than I needed to. So just going to have a quick look at this little setup here to hopefully help you understand how the point motors are wired up. So on the front here, you've got your switch and then your two LEDs. Now this is just a piece of foam board. So let's try and make this as easy as possible to understand. One thing that I realised afterwards is this orange wire isn't necessary to go here. You can effectively do your red and your black power circuits and have every individual switch and point motor just go straight to those power buses for them. They don't need to be wired to each individual switch. So let's say, for example, this was number 6. It doesn't need to be wired directly to point motor number 6 for it to work. You could have a black bus and a red bus, much like you would for your DCC control, or if you've got your normal power bits going to the track. So that orange bit, ignore. That would effectively, in essence, go to your point motor to the center terminal block. So you got your black power and your red power coming in, and they go into the center bar on this point switch. Then, and this is the part that threw me when I was designing it, from the red power bus, you then have your 1K resistor. That goes to a center on your, my soldering's not that great, I'm really sorry. It goes on a center point between on the
flat side of each LED. Now, if you don't know, LEDs have one side that is flat, and that is the, I'm going to say positive off the top of my head, but that's the side you need to go to when you're wiring your resistor. So you solder the two legs together of the LEDs, and the resistor goes onto that. You can make this look as tidy or as fancy as you so wish. This is a very simplified version of what's going on underneath my control panel. So that resistor goes onto the center leg of the two LEDs. Then, out of the other side of each LED, you have a brown wire that goes to this terminal here, and you have a grey wire that goes to this terminal here. I don't know why it's the wrong way around to how this goes, but that's just how it goes. Then, on the opposite side, on the up and the down, these are the two cables that go off to your point motor. So that means going to the point motor, you have this orange wire, which is the main constant power in each point motor. And then you have these two cables here, which go off to the point motor. One goes in one side, one goes in the other side. And that allows you to change. So effectively, once this is all powered up, in the up position, this should be blue. And in the down position, that would then change to blue. What that would also do is it would change the point motor from this position to this position and changes your points for you. That is a very rough, simplified version of what's going on my point controller, but hopefully that makes sense. So all in all, I'm very happy with having my point controllers all set up and I'm ready to go, and I can start putting trains into the fiddle yard without having to just lay them on the track. Actually running trains into the fiddle yard is good because I can test that the track's actually working. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to you in the main room in a second. Obviously, the one thing that I do need to change is the layout of the actual design on here. Me controlling it by myself, not so much of a problem because I will soon get used to which one controls which one. And I obviously need to fix that LED that suddenly stopped working on there. However, very, very happy with it. And I would certainly use this method for doing point motors in the future as well. And the MTP MP1 point motors have been fantastic. They're really easy to set up. They have a lot of leeway in terms of the resistances and how easy it is to throw the points. So I'd massively recommend them. They're really easy to use. There's a feature on them that I'm not currently using, which is the ability to switch the frogs as well. That's what the additional 3 terminals on there are for. I use install frog points, so it's not something that I need to worry about. However, further down the line, you can control signals with it as well. So my plan is to set it up so that there will be a physical lighting system above the fiddle yard so that you can see which points have been thrown visually as well as on the actual control panel. So that'll be a project further down the line, but for now we want to get trains running. So back to me in the room. And there we have it. That is the fiddle yard video. So I'm very excited for this. I'm gonna start loading up trains and getting them all in here and leave a little clip of it at the end for you so you can see all the trains going in, so that's something a little bit special for you. However, don't forget, if you haven't already, you can follow everything that I do on a more regular basis on my podcast, which is the Model Rail Replacement Podcast, which I do with my friend James from the Western Signalman, where we do news updates, we talk about various different projects, hobbies, and we do interviews with people as well. So you can follow that on Spotify, on YouTube, and it's on various platforms when it wants to work. So with that, sit back, enjoy, and you can watch me fill up the fiddle yard. Thanks very much for watching.